Could you briefly explain Jewish denominations? What are similarities and the differences between Reformed Judaism and other Judaism?
Okay, great. So Judaism doesn't have a centralized hierarchy like a pope that gets to decide policy for the whole thing. So for as long as there have been Jews, there have been denominations of Jews. If you even go back to the Second Temple period, you know, part of what they said about why the temple was destroyed is they said infighting amongst Jews. You had Pharisees and Sadducees and Essenes and Zealots and, you know, Karaites, all the different colors. So for as long as there have been Jews, we have had different ways of expressing that Judaism. And it's not different in America. So I would say that in America, there are kind of three most major denominations, although you can also find even more than that. But the three major ones are Reform Judaism, which is the most liberal denomination. What that means is that denomination was the first to ordain women as rabbis, but it also saw itself as embracing universal values, living in the modern world, studying science and math and other things, and being in the world in a different way. Then you had Orthodoxy, which many people think of as what traditional Judaism always was, but it kind of solidified as a traditional Judaism that observed the Torah more literally. And frequently, parts of Orthodoxy was comfortable staying mostly only with other Jews and studying more, you know, within their own community, and certainly marrying only within their community. And they valued less the kind of secular subjects and valued more just the Jewish subjects. Then in between those two, you have conservative, which really should be seen as in between. They wanted to live in the modern world, but they were also trying to embrace Jewish law in a more strict way, and they made more compromises back and forth. So you had kind of these three major movements.
Wow. I have seen in Korea. So this is the representative organization to make to build the bridge between Christianity and
Judaism.
Yeah. The problem is that many Korean churches and church members don't have any understanding about
Judaism.
So how we solve this, the lack of the understanding of Judaism in Korea? Do you have any idea?
I wish I could say we need more encounters, and the fact is that you know, Jews are only 0.2% of the population of the world, so we can't get around to meet everybody. But I do think that there's nothing like actual face-to-face conversations and learning that can happen. So among the things that I could imagine is if there are ways for Christian ministers here to meet with rabbis perhaps from New York, or to invite a group of rabbis to come to Korea and to do some learning together. I would welcome that. One of the things I did recently was I joined with that conservative and Orthodox colleague I mentioned. The three of us hosted a trip to Israel with 12 Christian ministers from Manhattan. So we traveled to Israel together last summer, and that was really important for building our relationship with our Christian colleagues.
Wow.
I do a lot of speaking engagements, but I also am trying to be a bridge builder. My visit here is very much, I mean, it's a passion for me to be connected to I consider my two other homelands, which is Korea and Israel, to be involved in this work. But I think that's, you know, we're a very small people, but I think we have a very deep and important message to share with the world, and I want to share it. And so that's part of what I think is my responsibility as a rabbi.
You have many experience between the Christianity and the Reformed Judaism in the U.S.
Yes.
So what is the similarity and differences between Christianity and Judaism?
I mean, we are sister religions from the beginning, right? Not only in the sense that we are all descendants of Abraham and Sarah, but it's interesting how much, because the birth of Christianity was within the context of Jewish life, how many symbols, languages, all of these things are similar. One of the things that was very beautiful when I led my trip with our Christian pastors is we asked them to teach texts when they were at Christian sites, because we visited Christian sites with them, they visited Jewish sites with us. And when we were at the, you know, the place where the Beatitudes was done in the mountain, they read the text there, and it was like almost exactly like the prayer called Ashrei, which is a prayer of praise. And I said, "Oh, we're sharing. We came from the same, from the same text." And you know, I think there's also, of course, a deep understanding, besides the fact that we share a common text of the what you would call the Old Testament, we would call the Hebrew Bible. There's also a sense of the way that we think about the world is oriented around, you know, a monotheism, which ultimately brings all children of the earth together under one God in a sense that's united. And I think that that's a orienting principle that we share. And I think that also that we have faiths that are oriented towards a time of redemption. That means we believe the world can get better. We believe that we have a role in helping the world get there. And so I think orienting ourselves with a belief that redemption is possible and that we have a role to play is, I think, a guiding purpose for both faiths that we can actually share in together.
Wow. Thank you. How do you envision the relationship between Korean church and Judaism and your role involving in the coming year?
Right. I think I'm only coming to appreciate now how important the Christian community of Korea is for the relationship with Israel, for example, and possibly Jews in America. And this is my first time coming in this context, and I'm so grateful that that you've helped coordinate some meetings for me, so we might actually build those bridges in a much deeper way. Because the reality is, as you probably know, Israel is feeling more and more isolated in the world, and I think some very, I think that Israel is not a perfect country, but I think that its critique of Israel has been outsized and in many ways unfair. So this is a really critical time for people who care about the state of Israel and the Jewish community to come together and work together. And so I'm deeply invested in building those bridges in a deeper way, and I feel really grateful to the Christian community here for building it. And you should know the Christian community, Korean Christian community, is my own family. My imo is a Christian minister. Yeah, she converted to Christianity in America, and so she is. So I have Christians in my own family and Korean Christians. And so I think that the idea that we could continue to build those bridges is something I'm deeply passionate about.
Wow.